All right. Good day, everyone. I'm Angie Mikel Albano, and today I want to welcome you to our presentation. Palakpak, palakpak. Walang pumapalakpak. So, today, my group and I are going to take you on a deep dive into what we call graph theory. Now, some of you might remember the basics of this topic from our previous lesson or from our previous subject called Mathematics in the Modern World, or minsan sinasabi natin as the MMW. But today, we are just simply leveling that up because we aren't just looking at this as drawings or simple puzzles or simple equations, because in discrete structures, graphs are considered as one of the most powerful algebraic frameworks used to map the data, used to optimize networks, and even used to solve those complex computing problems. Now, by the end of this report, you will see exactly why those tech giants na kilala natin like the Google, the Microsoft, the Facebook, the Instagram, etc., ganyan, 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 are really relying so heavily on this kind of mathematics. Now, without further ado or patumpik-tumpik pa, let's get started! Alright, now, okay, what is exactly graph theory? Anyone? Anyone who wants to answer? Ay na lang, wala po. Okay, so in the straight mathematics, graph is an algebraic structure defined by sets that map relationships within a system. Okay, so this is basically a study of relationships. Yeah, relationships. So imagine you have a collection of objects, and some of those objects are connected to each other. Graph theory give us the mathematical language to abstract that content or to abstract that concept. So I want you to think of about Facebook. Grabe, no special mention Facebook. So let's say you are an object and your classmate is also an object. And let's say you are friends. Diba? Parang ano kayo, magkaibigan kayo. Now, if you notice, there is a connection between the two of you, right? Like mutual kayo sa isa't isa. Now, graph theory doesn't care what you look like or even what you post online. It only cares about the structure of that connection. And it allows us to take messy, real world systems and turn them into a clean and much structured models that computers can simply analyze. And that's what we call graph theory. Now, to understand further, we're proceeding to the next slide. And so, to make this to make this more mathematically rigorous for our subject, we defined a graph as an ordered pair of G, where ordered pair of G equal to the quantity of B and E. So, ano lang yan, let's break that notation down simply now because maybe it look like intimidating, pero simple lang yan, don't worry. Now, here the V stands for a non-empty set called vertices, which you can think of as the nodes or the points. Now, ano naman sa kabilang banda, the E stands for the set of what we call edges. Okay? Which are the lines connecting those points. Now, if you look at the diagram on this slide, no, our vertex set V simply contains the points labeled there as N1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, our edge set E naman is just a collection of pairs showing exactly who is connected to who. So basically, itong line na may kita nyo, ano lang yan, yung edge, this is basically the line connecting the 2 points. Like for example, here, the 2 and 6. These are what we called as the nodes or the vertices. And then they're being connected by this line, and that's what we call as the edge. Now, if there is no line, it is not in the set. Meaning, let's say, kapag tinanggal natin tong line na nako-connect sa 2 and 6, yung 6 is hindi na siya kabilang sa set. Kasi nga, again, hindi na siya connected doon sa mismong set. Gets? Ayun lang, ganun naman siya ka-straightforward and ka-simple. Again, a graph is defined as an ordered pair of G equal to the quantity of V and E, where V is a non-empty set of vertices or nodes, and E is the set of edges connecting endpoints in V. Okay? Guys, now let's proceed to the or how these elements interact. So we use the word adjacent to describe neighbors. So like for example dito, yung kapitbahay mo. Uy, pare, magkakapitbahay pala tayo and we are called adjacent kasi nga magkalapit lang tayo eh. 'Di ba? So if ita-take natin tong if ita-take natin tong definition na to, we can say that the vertices 6 or the vertices 2 and 6 are adjacent or they are neighbors kasi nga magkalapit sila. Gets? And two vertices are adjacent if there is an edge directly joining them. Yun eh, simple lang. They are adjacent if there is edges joining them. Or if there is an edge joining them. And on the flip side of that, we say that two edges are adjacent if they intersect at the exact same vertex. Gets? Okay, gets na yan! Sana all gets. Now, proceed naman tayo here sa vertex degree. Sorry. And it is basically written as the degree quantity V. And this is simply the number of edge endpoints connected to that specific node. So think of it like a person's follower count or how many lines are branching out from a single dot. And I want you to remember this also. Quick side note of here, no? Look at loops. We know loops, right? Some of you know loops, and every one of you know loops, where a line loops back to the exact same vertex it started from. And in a standard graph, a loop actually adds 2 to the vertex's degree. Bakit? Because both ends of that single line are plugging right back into the same node. Gets? Gets nyo na yun. Okay, now let's proceed to the 6 formal graph classifications. So again, alam naman natin na not all graphs are created equally. Sa Tagalog, hindi raw lahat ng graphs ay nagawa ng may pagkakapantay-pantay. And in our subject or in our course DS1, Discrete Structures 1, it categorizes them into 6 distinct types based on their rules. Now, let's look let's look at the table together. Ayan, nakikita niyo dito yung mga graph type, the edges, the multiple edges allowed, the loops allowed, and so on. So yung mga yung mga rules na yan, it's basically answer the question such as do the edges have a direction? Diba? And next one, are multiple lines allowed between the same 2 points? And kung allowed ba yung loop? Diba? Now, let's break down exactly how these rules create like those 6 types of graphs na ginagamit natin. Now, the first one here, we have the simple graph. Okay? So, this is known as the purest, no? among all of those graph. And also, ayun, most restrictive type sa mga graph na to kasi lahat ng edges are undirected. Undirected, di ba? Meaning, relationships are mutual and, ayan, two-way lang. And it strictly forbids two things. It has no loops and no multiple edges. I want to give an example, a real world example for that. Think of a basic network of straight, di ba? Or like, let's say, ano lang, para mas madali, standard friendship network on Facebook. Di ba? Either you are friends with someone or you aren't. Di ba? There's only ever one connection line between the two of you. Like for example, ano lang yun, one account per one person. And you can be friends with yourself, di ba? Paano siya mangyayari, di ba? Like, gagawa ka ng isang account, tapos i-add mo yung sarili mo. Ganon. So, hindi siya ganon. You can't be friends with yourself in a way that requires a loop. Gets? Gets yun na yun. Now, let's now proceed with the multigraph. Ayan. Now, what happens if we keep the graph undirected, but we allow more than one line to connect the same 2 points? That will give us multigraph. The number of duplicate lines between two vertices is called its multiplicity. Multiplicity. And crucially, a multigraph still does not have a loop. To understand more pa, ano na lang din, I will give an example. Imagine a public transit. If there are 3 different or independent bus routes traveling back and forth between station A and station B, a single line won't cut it. You need a multigraph with 3 parallel edges to represent those 3 distinct paths. Gets? Now, let's proceed with the pseudograph naman. If we take a multigraph and completely remove all of those restrictions by finally allowing loops, we get a pseudograph. And sinasabi rin nila na this is the most chaotic type of those undirected graph because yung edge niya nababago ng direction mid-air and nagpa-plug in right back into the vertex it started from. Like, since nag-aalaw na nga ng loop, babalik lang siya doon sa vertex kung saan siya nagsimula. Like for example, think of a logistics or a highway map where yung mga delivery truck is umaalis sa mga warehouse. Like, they drive a local loop around the neighborhood to like let's say ito-drop nila yung mga packages and then magre-return ulit sila to doon sa exact same warehouse without ever visiting another major hub. Gets? That's how we should understand those 3 undirected: the simple graph, the multigraph, and then the pseudograph. Now, what about the simple directed graph? And then, ayun na, di ba, tinapik natin sa mga undirected edges. Now, let's proceed naman sa mga directed edges. Or both. And sa simple directed graph. Now, if an edge is an arrow pointing from vertex A to vertex B, it simply represents a one-way relationship. Like, yung simple directed graph, and then minsan tinatawag din siya as minsan tinatawag din siyang digraph. Parang inaalaw niya yung mga arrow. Inaalaw niya yung mga arrow, but it says that you can only have one arrow in a specific direction between 2 points. And again, bawal yung loop kasi nga 1:1 lang siya. And to give you a much clearer example for that, think of Instagram followers. If let's say yung account ko, finalo niya yung account, no, if let's say yung account ko, finalo ko yung isang sikat na tao, that's a one-way arrow. Account B may not follow my account, yun nga, yung account nung famous na yon, pwede niyang, ang tawag dito, might not follow me back. And it perfectly follows a modern asymmetrical one-way relationships. Now, let's proceed with the directed multigraph naman. If we take that directed concept and kapag inallow natin yung multiple arrows pointing in the same direction between those two nodes plus the self loops, we will get directed multigraph. Okay? And then, yan, nakalagay na here sa table na yes, yung sa multiple edges are allowed, and then loops are allowed. And that is what we call directed multigraph. Now, for the example of that, ano lang yan? Tawag dito, ano lang yan? Ang nire-represent lang nito is how the internet traffic or server communication works. Like, let's say if the server 1, or ano pa mas mahal, if the server A sends 5 distinct data packets to server B over a network, hindi naman siya mag-work if we only have a single line, di ba? It cannot accurately measure that data volume. Like, hindi niya matatransfer ng maayos yung need na ilipat doon sa isang server. That's why you need 5 distinct directed edges pointing from A to B to track that traffic. Okay? Para hindi na siya ganun kahirap i-track para yung itatrack or i-measure the data. And that's how directed multigraph work. And lastly, or finally, we have here the mixed graph. So, as the name implies naman, no? Parang ano na rin yan, common sense na lang. It's basically a hybrid system that containing both directed and undirected edges. Yan. Undirected and directed edges. Gets? So, para mas maintindihan nyo na lang din, for the example, I think the most example is the GPS, right? Those GPS navigation softwares like yun nga, Waze, the Google Maps. Yun yung best example for this because some streets are regular two-way roads. It represents the undirected edges, while other streets in the crowded downtown area are strictly a one-way lanes, which is, we know, that is directed edges. To code a navigation algorithm that works in a real city, diba? And our data structure must be a mixed graph. Okay? So, ayun lang naman, yun lang yung simple na explanation doon or dito sa 6 na formal graph classifications. The graph type, those are the simple graph, the multigraph, the pseudograph, the simple directed graph, the directed multigraph, and then the mixed graph. Okay, now let's proceed to the handshaking theorem. Okay, before that, hinga muna tayo, no? Kasi parang nafe-feel ko na nahihirapan na kayo. Okay, this brings us to one of the most famous theorems in graph theory. Totoo ba? Famous siya. So, this is what we call the handshaking theorem. So, in mathematical context, or let's say mathematically, it says that the sum of the degrees of all vertices is equal to twice the number of edges. Or simply, itong equation na ito na nakikita nyo, yun yung ini-state dito sa handshaking theorem. Now, let's think about why this makes sense, no? Kasi, di ba, lahat naman ng bagay may sense. Now, imagine you are at the party. You are at party. Now, every time two people shake hands, that is one handshake. Or let's say, one edge, right? But, how many hands were involved? Exactly, 2 hands. So, every single edge contributes exactly 1 count to the degree of 2 different vertices. Because you're just simply multiplying the edges by 2. So, the total sum of degrees in any graph must always be an even number. Kasi, kailan ka ba nakakita na kapag minultiply mo by 2 ang lalabas odd? Diba? It doesn't make sense. Right? So, a real mathematical consequence lang of this is that you can never have a graph. You can never have a graph with basically an odd number. Ayun lang naman. Or let's say, odd degree vertices. Ganun. Because we know that is, sinabi ko na rin kanina, it is structurally impossible. Because you can times, or you can just simply times any numbers by 2 and you will get an odd number. Okay? Okay. Gets ang handshaking theorem? Click like nga kung nagigets. Okay. Now let's pivot how this actually applies to our major. So in computer science, ginagamit natin tong classifications to model massive data systems. Take this first, the social networks, which we call as the influence graphs. So, we can model a group of people where each person is a vertex. Okay? So, let's say if person A influences person B, we draw a directed arrow from A to B. And this forms a simple directed graph because influence has a specific direction. And alam naman natin na it helps algorithms map out how trends go viral. Now, another major example for this is the communication networks. And sometimes, tinatawag natin as call graphs. So, yung mga vertices dito are phone numbers or let's say, are server IP addresses. So, each and every time a call or let's say a data packet is sent, magka-create ng panibagong edge. Because you can call the same person multiple times a day and we must use a directed multigraph to actually accurately track the total traffic volume between those 2 points. Gets? So, yun lang yung ang introduction natin into network modeling and then sa communication networks. Then the next one is the traversal terminologies. And since we understand the anatomy of a graph, how do we actually move through one? Diba? Iniisip natin yan. But in discrete math, we have very strict rules for sa pag-travel along different nodes and lines. And then we categorize them as walk, path, circle. Now, let's proceed to walk first. So, ayan, this is from the definition of alternating sequence of vertices and edges. So, yung walk, it is the most casual option. Diba? Kasi parang lang yan, kapag wala kang pira, maglalakad ka, ganyan. Just kidding. So it is just an alternating sequence of vertices and edges. So here you can repeat edges and you can step on the uh, on the same exact vertex as many times as you want. And wala siyang restrictions and then wala siyang any restrictions for that. That is walk. Now let's proceed to path. So, ano na yan, a specific sequence of vertices with no repeated edges. Repeated edges, no? But, itong path is much stricter than walk. Kasi, yung path, sequence siya na that edge na hindi dapat na yung edge dapat can never be repeated. Okay? Yun yung sa path. That no edge can ever be repeated. And once you cross the line, that line is closed. Like, hindi ka na pwedeng bumalik, hindi ka na pwedeng dumaan ulit. That is path. Like, parang tuloy-tuloy lang. Like, buhay ay di Carrera. Yeah. Next one is the circuit. Yeah, the graph is connected if there is a valid path joining any two of its vertices. If any vertices are isolated, it is disconnected. So basically, it is a special kind of path lang that is close ganun. So meaning it must start and end at the same vertex without repeating any edges along the way. Yun lang siya. Like, dapat mag-start and then mag-end ka lang sa same vertex nang hindi nauulit yung lines na dinaanan mo. Now, understanding this three types of movement is, I think, very crucial kasi they really form the foundational logic for the routing algorithms we will discuss next by our next presenter. And then here, the graph connectivity, it is a graph that is connected if there is a valid path joining the two of its vertices. If any vertices are isolated, it is disconnected. Connected kapag there's a valid path joining any two of its vertices. If one vertex is isolated and it is disconnected.
So next is Eulerian graphs and Fleury's algorithm. So Eulerian framework focuses entirely on traversing edges. So the main goal is to move through all the edges in a graph rather than focusing on the vertices. Next. Euler path, a structural path that steps through every single edge in the graph exactly once. So as you can see sa example natin dito is nag-start tayo sa letter C, then pumunta tayo sa letter B, and then A, and C, and D. And as you can see, exactly once lang sila nag-pass through sa mga edges. So hindi na doble or what. Exactly once lang dito. C, B, A, C, and D. So next. Euler's circuit. A Euler path that starts and ends at the same vertex. So, Euler circuit, magsisimula tayo sa starting vertex natin and then mag-end din tayo sa starting vertex natin. So, if nag-start tayo sa letter E, doon din tayo mag-end. So, dito, sa example natin, nag-start tayo sa letter B, papunta sa letter A, and then E, and then B ulit, and then C, D, E, and then lastly, letter B. So, magsimula tayo sa letter B, then tatapos din tayo sa letter B. Ganon ang Euler circuit. Next. Bridges. An edge sa bridge, if deleting it, splits a connected graph into separate, disconnected components. So, as you can see sa example, ang bridges natin is 0, 3, and then 3, 4. So, etong red lines na to, pag tinanggal natin to, may hiwalay si 3 and 4 sa 0, 1, 2 na vertices. Okay? And then dito naman, if tinanggal naman natin tong red line na to, may hiwalay si 4 sa 3, 0, 1, 2 vertices. So ang bridges, ito yung mga ito yung edge na tinanggal natin is may mati-disconnect. So dito, sa 2 and 0, bridge ba yan? No, hindi. Kasi kapag tinanggal natin yan, connected pa rin sila. Si 1 and 0, bridge ba yan? No, hindi rin. Kasi pag tinanggal natin yan, hindi naman sila mati-disconnect. So ganun ang bridges. Next. So Euler's theorem, Euler circuit theorem. A connected graph contains a Euler circuit if and only if every single vertex has an even degree. So, punta ulit tayo sa previous example, no? So, dito, makikita natin each vertex has a even degree. So, sa letter B, ilan ang degree niya? We have 1, we have 2, 3, and then 4. So, 4 is an even. So, dito naman sa letter C, we have 2 degrees. So, 1 and 2. So, even then. Sa letter D, 1 and 2. And then, other vertices has an even degree. Ganun malalaman if ang graph is a circuit or Euler circuit. So, Euler path theorem. A connected graph contains an Euler path if and only if these have exactly 2 vertices of odd degree. The path must start at one of the odd degree vertices and end at the other. Right? Next, lastly, Lurie's algorithm steps. First, we verify that all vertices have even degrees because an Euler circuit can only exist if every vertex is connected to an even number of edges. Next, we choose any vertex as the starting point since a graph with all even degrees allow us to begin. As we move through the graph, we must avoid crossing a bridge unless there is no other option available. A bridge is an edge that when removed, disconnects the graph, so avoiding it too early helps us continue traversing all edges smoothly. After crossing an edge, we mark or erase it to show that it has already been used. We repeat the process until all edges have been crossed exactly once, completing the Euler circuit.
So, good day everyone. My name is Neil Sander B. Rodriguez, and today we are going to talk about Hamiltonian path, circuit, and optimization. So, let's get started. And in here, it states that while Eulerian layout tracks edges, Hamiltonian paths and circuits tracks vertices. So, we're gonna focus on the vertices. And let's get started. First things first, we're going to talk about Hamiltonian path. Hamiltonian path is a traversal route that visits every vertex exactly once. In here, we have a sample problem, and if we try to solve it, if we start from A, we can go to the next vertex, which is B. Next is C, then letter D, then letter E. And as you can see, we traveled every vertex exactly once. You can also start from letter E to letter D to letter C to letter B, and then lastly to letter A. But if you start from letter D, you cannot solve it, since if you start from D to C to B to A, and as you can see, you haven't traveled to letter E, and you are from A, and if you travel from D, you would travel the letter D twice. So you need to be careful about that. And next, we're going to talk about Hamiltonian circuit. So Hamiltonian circuit is a closed loop visiting every vertex exactly once before returning to the start node. So wherever you start at that vertex, you should end at that vertex. So in here we have a sample problem, which is if we start from letter A, then to B, then to C, then letter E, then letter D, then lastly going back to A. And you can see if we started from A, we ended in A, and you form a closed loop. That's why it's called Hamiltonian circuit. You could also start from letter C, then go to E, to letter D, to letter A, to letter B, and then go back to letter C. And yeah, that's why it's called Hamiltonian circuit. It forms a closed loop. And you need to travel every vertex at least once. And then lastly, this is the computational complexity of Hamiltonian circuits. So finding Hamiltonian circuits is considered an NP-complete problem because there is no quick and simple method to determine whether a graph is Hamiltonian. Unlike Eulerian graphs, simple degree calculations are not enough. So large graphs often require heuristic algorithms or smart trial and error methods to find possible solution. And in here you can see the note about NP-complete problem and heuristic algorithm. So NP-complete means a type of computational problem that is notoriously difficult to solve but easy to verify. And for you to solve a very huge graph, you need a heuristic algorithm. And a heuristic algorithm is a problem-solving method designed to find a good enough or approximate solution, just like trial and error method. So that is all. Thank you, everyone.
The traveling salesperson problem. Given a weighted graph where edges represents distances cost, find the Hamiltonian circuit with the absolute minimum total weight. So we have two category of the traveling salesperson problem, and first one is the nearest neighbor algorithm. So from our current vertex, let's take A. Hold on. We have four choices, which is A to B, A to C, and A to D, and A to E. But since 2 is the least weight out of all of them, 3, 6, 7, and 2, we're going to E, I mean. And then we have 3 choices from E. Oops. Which is from E to B, E to C, and E to D. Pero since mas mababa yung papunta kay D, we're going there instead. We have 3 other choice again. Pero this time, we have D to A, which is pinaka mababa nga, but we haven't went through all the vertices yet. So we are left with 2 other choice, which is 15 and 11. But since yung 11 is yung pinakamababa, we're going this way. We're going to C. We have 3 other choice again, but 14 comes back to E, and yung sa 6 goes back to A, and we haven't went through D yet. We are going to choose this edge instead. And then we are going back to where we started, which is yung A. So A to E to D to C to B and back to A. And that's 2 plus 5 plus 11 plus 12. Whoops. I think this is 3 plus 3. Let me check. Okay, this is 3. So 23, 28, 30, 33. 33 total weight. Cheapest link algorithm. Sort all edges in the graph from cheapest to most expensive. Continually pick the cheapest overall edge anywhere in the graph, as long as it does not form a premature cycle or cause any vertex to exceed a degree of 2. So, ano muna natin siya? Ilista muna natin. So, 2, 3, 4. These are the weights from this graph. 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 13. So let's start with 2, which is this edge over here. So, tapos na yan. And then we'd look at 3 over here. No problem. So, tapos na rin yan. Then we look at 4. No problem as well. We're gonna connect that. So, tapos na rin yan. And then, this is where we end up in a problem. Kasi, if we connect this vertex E to B, magkakaroon siya ng circuit that doesn't include all vertices. So, we're gonna skip that. Tapos, we're gonna look at 7 instead, which doesn't form any premature cycle. Yeah, we're gonna connect that. And then, we also run into a problem pag we take this 9, which forms a premature cycle that doesn't include E and C. So, skip natin yan. And then we look at 10. Same thing. It does form a premature cycle that doesn't include the vertex D. And let's look at 11, which completes our circuit, including all vertex. So, there you go.
Hello everyone, I am John Mildy Bernardo, and today we are going to talk about spanning trees and explore how we can use Kruskal's algorithm. And before we dive deeper, let's first establish what a tree means in graph theory. So as shown here, a tree is a connected, undirected graph with no cycles. So in simple terms, connected means you can travel from any vertex to any vertex or to any other vertex, while having no cycles means there are no closed loops or circular paths. And moving on, let's look at the definition of a spanning tree. So a spanning tree is a structural subgraph connecting all vertices of the master graph while forming a valid tree using exactly the formula here, cardinality of V, or the size of V or vertex minus 1 edges. So let's look at the diagram here on the right side. So here we have 6 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if we apply our formula, since the cardinality of V or the size of our V is 6, so 6 minus 1 is equal to our 5 edges. So kailangan natin tayo magkaroon dito ng 5 edges na walang loop. So here, between 1 and 4, we have 1 edge here. Between 2 and 4, we have also 1 edge here. 3 and 4, 4 and 5, and let's see 5 and 6. So you can see there are every single vertex is connected, but there is not a single closed loops. So for the next one is the minimum spanning tree, or the MST. So this is the specific spanning tree that minimizes the total collective sum of the edge weights, or in simple terms, this is the path that connects all the points while keeping the total sum of those numbers as small as possible. So let's take a look at our example here sa diagram na to. As you can see, may bold line dito. So ito yung ating spanning tree. So kaya ito yung napili nating mga edges, kasi kapag pinagsama mo tong mga value ng edges na to, yun yung magbibigay sa atin ng pinakamababang total cost ah, ng edge weights, yung sum ng ating edge weights, and at the same time walang naiwang vertex. Yan. So for the next one is the Kruskals algorithm steps. So the first one is we have to list every edge in the graph with its corresponding weight. Next one is to sort the entire edge list in ascending order from lowest weight to highest. Next is select the absolute cheapest edge from the list. Next is add it to your spanning tree only if it does not create a closed loop, and if it creates a cycle, reject it. And the last one is proceed to the next cheapest edge and repeat until your tree accumulates exactly the size of vertex or vertices minus 1. So let's take a look at our example here. So for us to identify or how natin magkikreate tayo ng minimum spanning tree is we have to identify kung ano yung lowest weight natin dito. So as you can see, makikita natin dito yung lowest edge natin is the 10. So ko-connect natin yan between 6 and 1. And the next one, so, ang susunod na na maliit bukod kay 10 is the 12. So ko-connect natin siya between the 4 and 3. And the next one is the 14, since ascending order yung nasa rule. So 14. So next ni 14, syempre si 16. Connect din natin siya. So ano ba yung susunod kay 16? So syempre isipin natin 18 kasi yun yung maliit next kay 16. Kasi if we connect this 7 and 4, magkikreate na agad siya ng loop. So syempre kapag nag-create ng loop, i-disregard natin yun since hindi yun yung rule nung ating spanning tree. So ano ba yung next na maliit bukod kay 18? So we have here the 22. So the next one, ano yung sunod na maliit bukod kay 22? So assume natin na 24. Kapag kinonect din natin yan, magka-create pa rin tayo ng loop. So iiwasan natin yun, mag-create ng loop. So the only thing we have here na mas maliit kaysa kay 22 and 24 is the 25. Yan. So as you can see, nakagawa tayo ng minimum spanning tree without creating a loop. So ayun, kung bibilangin natin, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges. So tama lang yun na nag-accumulate tayo ng 6 edges kasi since yun yung ating formula dito sa number 5 na size of v minus 1, since ang vertex natin or yung vertices natin is may pito tayong vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. So we have just to accumulate 6 edges.
Good day everyone, my name is Ronnie Torsar from Group 8 and today we're going to discuss about graph coloring and chromatic numbers. So now, let's discuss vertex coloring. So what is vertex coloring? It means assigning blocks, labels or colors to vertices such that no two adjacent vertices shares the same color. So what does it mean? So it means that um, any adjacent vertices should have a different color. So look at this. Look at this graph here. Look at one. So for each adjacent vertices has different colors. So so we have blue, green, blue, red, blue, pink. So as you can see from that, they have different colors. So that is what we call vertex coloring. So within vertex coloring, we have what we call chromatic numbers. So what does it mean? So it means that it is the minimum numbers of colors needed to color a graph properly. So again, look at this graph. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors or labels. But to find the chromatic number, we can actually look at this graph and it's the same graph but it only has 4 colors. But as you can see, it has blue, yellow, green, and red. We have 4 color. It still follow the rules that no two adjacent vertices share the same colors. So this is still valid. So this is how we found the chromatic numbers by simply painting the vertices with color and its adjacent vertices of different color, and we keep repeating that until we color the whole graph. Next, any planar graph, a graph that can be drawn on a flat sheet without its edges crossing over one another, has a chromatic number of at most 4. So what does it mean? So first, a planar graph. So a planar graph is basically a graph that its edges cannot be crossed over one another. So basically, look at this graph. Its edges does not cross with one another. It has no cross here, no cross here, no cross here, no cross here, no cross here. So this is a planar graph. Now, another thing is said that planar graph has chromatic number of at most 4. So look at here. No, we have how many color here? We have yellow, green, and purple. So we have 3 color. So if we go back to the previous graph, this has one. This has 4 chromatic number. Even though this is not a planar graph, it still follow the same rule. So no matter if you are given any planar graph and you're trying to find the chromatic number, you will know that the most amount of chromatic numbers you can get is 4. So it will be easier for you to find.
Good day, everyone. My name is Franz, and I'll be discussing the practical applications of graph theory. Imagine 3 completely unrelated problems: allocating microscope hardwares inside a computer chip, scheduling university exams, and stopping your cell phone from dropping calls. On the surface, they have nothing in common, but in the world of mathematics, they share the exactly same DNA. Today, we're looking at how a single branch of mathematics, graph theory, solves all 3 using a concept called graph corollary. First up, compiler engineering. Inside your computer's CPU, there is a tiny amount of ultra-fast memory slots called registers. When code runs, the computer must decide which variables get these fast slots. In our graph, the vertices are the variables, and an edge connects them if they need to be active at the exact same time. Colors represents the physical hardware registers by coloring this graph. The computer ensures that competing variables never crashes into the same registers, maximizing your PC speed. Next is how do universities schedule thousands of final exams without giving a student 2 exams at the same time, while using the fewest days possible. Graph theory makes it easy. The vertices are the courses. We draw an edge between two courses if at least one student is taking both. The colors, those are the exam time slots. Because connected nodes can't have the same color, students are guaranteed never to have a scheduling conflicts. Cell phone towers that are close to each other cannot broadcast on the same radio, or the signals will cross over and cause static. But wireless spectrum is limited and expensive. Here, the vertices are the cell towers, and the edge connects towers with overlapping coverage. The colors are the radio frequencies. The graph coloring allows the telecom companies to reuse the same frequencies safely across the country without them interfering with each other. So whether you are compiling codes, taking a math test, or making a phone call, you are relying on the exact same mathematical trick. Graph theory takes the chaotic conflicts of the physical world and organizes them into beautiful, efficient harmony.